But yeah, let's let's start, shall we? This has been a video that has been requested. I've checked my YouTube comments and also checked. There's not really a video on this like at all. So let's get started. Just with what I have, and I'll go over the ones that I also don't have currently. As you can see, I have a decent number of the current SSRs. So we're just going to take a look at their kits and give them overall rating out of 10. And this is all super subjective, so take it with a grain of salt, but this will generally help out people and give them a better understanding of like, should I invest into this character. So we'll start here with my favorite so far in Wren and Kamizono. So Wren is an interesting character. I played with her before she had her mech at 3 stars, and I played with her when she had 4, and then eventually 5. Now, what I will say is Wren is one of those characters where the difference between her star ups and her having her mech is pretty massive. It's actually really huge. And it's for a good reason. So I'd say about like 3 stars, no mech. She is pretty average. If I had to give her a rating, it'd probably be like around just her kit alone, around like 6.5 out of 10, maybe 7. But the mech makes the difference. So I would just say Wren's not really a character that I could recommend if you don't have her mech. And then there's the event that should be releasing tonight after maintenance, and we'll see whether or not you get our mech pieces, because that makes a huge difference in the people who have already summoned for her and those who have been on the fence and not yet summoned and haven't likely progressed through the game like that, or they have and they just have different characters. Wren, with her mech and her best situation, she is easily the best unit in the game currently, but the game's not been out for that long, and from what I've seen through the shop, Tasia Graft is going to be coming sometime in the future, and then she'll be the best unit in the game for a while. And it's because of the fact that she can upgrade, like she can evolve, I should say. She can evolve, and her ultra rare variant is one of the best units in the game currently on the JP, the CN, SCA overseas servers, right? So, and then over there, Wren is still, I believe she's still like a top 10 unit, top 15 ish unit. She's on the second team, so she's definitely top 10. Like she's not, she's definitely up there. And I would say if you've invested into her, that she is very much future proof. She has my stamp of approval. I would, if I'm giving her a score, it's probably like 9.5 ish. I can't give her a full 10 simply because of the fact that she is reliant on her stacks, which is Husk. Otherwise, you would get it from her ultimate, which grants you 1 Sakura mark, and each mark boosts her damage and her crit by 4%, and it stacks up to 20 times. So when you do the math on that, it's 80%. It's 80% boost, which is pretty huge. And then she gets an 80% crit on top of this damage number. Like, her ultimate hits really hard, probably the hardest that you're gonna see currently. And I say that she's the best unit in the game right now, currently, because of the fact that, you know, you have access to her mech through summoning. Otherwise, she's not, you know, the best. I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, what about Nova? Well, Nova doesn't have her mech on the global side yet. And I'm pretty sure she'll get it either through an event or summoning for her. She'll have her own rate up banner. This much I do know. She'll have her own rate up banner, so you get it that way. And I'm unsure of the other methods in acquiring Nova. But Nova is definitely one of the best units in the game, and she stays one of the best units in the game, even, you know, on the other servers that have been out for a while. So yeah, Wren, pretty much, like I've went over in another video, but as you can see here, I pretty much have her maxed out, and this here is just a 4% difference. So, you know, her kit overall is just like pretty insane. Like being able to deal 50% more damage to enemies that are above 60%, and then, you know, that halfway mark in a 40% range, you likely have your ultimate up at that stage for most enemies. And even if you don't, it's like 20% of like not having this passive, and then, you know, once they hit 30% threshold and below, you also get this back, and then, you know, you just get a flat crit chance boost. So she's going to crit 100% of the time unless the enemy has some type of crit chance debuff. She has 30% here, and when you get your stacks, as you get your stacks, which is 5-star reliant, you're pretty much over 100% in crit. This isn't even including like the max stats, so that's pretty nuts. She also have lifesteal when she hits, you know, 5 or more marks. When she hits the 5 marks, she starts to get lifesteal. It's enough to keep her topped off. You'll be surprised at how much of a difference this actually makes. It does make a pretty substantial difference. I don't want to hang, you know, too long on running because we have a lot of characters to go through, but the information is, you know, pretty important, so I'll just get through this as quickly as I possibly can. She also has a 22% chance of dealing 3 times her damage when she has 15 marks. When she has 10%, when she has 10 marks, excuse me, the damage and crit chance is increased by 5%. It's not relying on the marks. That's just a straight up, it's just a flat boost to her damage and her crit chance. So she has like fully stacked at 20, she'll have is 80% here, another 30% here, and then another 5% here, so 115. That's pretty insane. She's not going to be lacking in the damage department, I'll tell you that much. If you've seen my videos, you just see how she just tears through a lot of content, like a lot of content. The only content she doesn't tear through, you know, quote unquote, is conflict zone and supply prep. Still, she's tearing through that. Like I clear normal with like relatively no difficulty. So yeah, she's pretty insane. And then she gets another boost in her overall damage, just like 16. This will end up being 20% when I get 5 out of 5. And her crits from standard attacks have a 10% chance, which is, it's really good that they made it so she's not lacking in the, you know, the crit chance department, because her entire kit is reliant on her stacks. It's completely reliant on her stacks, honestly, because the damage without the stacks versus with the stacks is just night and day. Honestly, it's what makes this character. And I'm sure a lot of people would comfortably say, like, you know, she would just be the best, one of the best units in the game flat out if she had more than 20. If she had about like 40, she just be just, oh my goodness. Like even 10, even if it just got bumped up to 10, right? For whatever reason, if that's how they released her. 30, 30 is just like ridiculous, but you know, even with that 20, like it's insane. And it's also because of the fact that every 5 of her Sakura marks that she acquires, her ultimate is ready to go. Ton of damage, absolutely insane how much damage she does, especially when you can combine her with this unit here, which I'm going over next. And Snowy is easily one of the best units that you can get your hands on for free because of the pre-registration rewards. And if we're, you know, talking about what to invest in as far as like the mech, I would say you invest in Snowy's mech. It's pretty much like set in stone. Snowy's insane. She has homing on all of her attacks, and so is her ultimate. It's also homing. It tracks the enemies. It's pretty insane. as you can see here, it's the enemies within range, but the range is like pretty much the whole screen, so it's not even, you know, it's not even something you have to think about with her, you know, her ultimate. The normal attacks, it's within a certain range, so you have to, you know, get within that range. But once you get within that range, they don't have to be in the line of sight, you know, because there's this little marker when you're using her and where the range is. But so long as you're within that area, within that radius, the missiles will track onto the enemy that's within that radius. So Snowy's really good, like really good. And the reason why she's really good, and people are, you know, saying like, you know, invest in Snowy. I'm saying this, invest in Snowy. I'm sure a lot of people, you know, as far as the 6 that you have available, Snowy would be the one, you know, most coveted. It's for this reason. Her crits from standard attacks have, you know, the set chance to allow the teammate with the highest attack to ignore the enemy's defense for 15 seconds. Once this procs, the full 15 seconds has to, you know, diminish, and then you have to, you know, proc it again with this set chance. This is why I've, you know, leveled up these in this way. I suppose I should also talk about the priority in which you level these up, huh? So I would say, as I went along, I would say Wren's ultimate, then Whimsy. So Scatter Blossoms of the Fail God in terms of priority, then Whimsy, then Husk, and Absolution last. Absolution last simply because of, like, this gives the least amount of, you know, boost outside of the chance to deal 3 times more damage, but your ultimate matters. Your ultimate matters the most. Husk is just, you know, once you get to this stage, it's just good on its own, so it's not the highest priority. But this boost in damage, and like, does the chance increase? The 10% chance? No, it's just the damage. So because this is just a flat 10, this is like 3rd on a priority because you only care about the marks really, and then, you know, the marks help you do more damage. But the fact that this is like the main aspect, this is passive, by the way. It's not when you activate this. This is just straight up passively. It matters a lot. This increases by 10 each time the damage that you do. And this is like with mech, it'll have, you know, a different description when you don't have it on. But the fact that you can do 10% more damage, this also increases your damage by a crap ton. And this is like less important. This is probably the least important. The lifesteal actually does help a bit, but it's not that important. Then you go to Snowy, I would say Depending on what her role is for your team, it may alter which one of these you decide on upgrading. But I would say, actually, I would say probably her ultimate and weapon of war, then Sweetest Smile, then Little Angel. But it depends between these two, Little Angel or, you know, Sweetest Smile. So probably ultimate, then Little Angel and Sweetest Smile, or Sweetest Smile, Little Angel, and then Pure of Heart is likely the last one. Even though for Little Angel to, you know, have some use, you need Pure of Heart to be up and her crit to be up. It's, you know, it'll proc often enough. It'll definitely proc often enough. Snowy's really good. I would say she's one of the highest priorities. Bernadette, she's also very good, but the investment that you need in order for her to even, you know, be usable it's too much. So I can't really recommend this unless you are spending money on this game, and it's bare minimum 110, so you can get her mech. And then, you know, her attacks have a 15% chance of doing 4 times damage, but she's a sniper, so it's like, it's pretty tough. She's not lacking in, you know, the damage department, especially when she crits. It's just like you get a 25% boost in damage. With the mech, it's crit boost your damage and your crit damage, and it can continuously refresh, but it does not stack. So that's pretty good. And then you just get a crit chance boost right here, and attacking an enemy that has a debuff triggers her, you know, her 4th skill has a chance to trigger. So you have 2 different chances to, you know, trigger Kill with Kindness, which makes her really good. It's just the fact that you have to invest so much to, like, you know, get her mech pieces. It's kind of ridiculous, and I'm not aware currently of any other methods in getting her mech. So it's kind of like, if you're gonna spend that much for Bernadette, I would just say you either just save those crystals, or, you know, try and go for Wren and her mech and just have a much easier to use and overall way more DPS in her. So Bernadette's like, if you're investing, do so. If not, then don't go for it at all. Samara's another one. She's good only if you have her mech, and she also needs to be at 5 stars because of the fact that when she falls below 10%, which is like such an insane HP threshold, especially with like how some of these bosses can just do like a crap ton of damage, especially in like conflict zone. You basically need to set her as a tank and prioritize defense, health, maybe even evasion a bit, just so you'll be able to, you know, consistently get this proc. The reason for this is when she gets her suit, this shield that she gets that's equal to 10% of her max health, which is why you want to prioritize health on her and not much else with defense, of course. So, you know, the HP matters. It activates every 30 seconds. The shield lasts for 15, but when you get her mech, it converts that damage into HP. These aren't really worth mentioning because it just, you know, reduces, this one reduces the attacker's damage by 10%, and I believe that percentage goes up. It does. And with her suit, it reduces their crit chance as well. So she's a really good debuffer, which, you know, you can pair her up with Bernadette, which is, you know, pretty good. And then every 15 seconds, she's reducing damage taken And then when you know, get her suit, this is at, you know, level 1, by the way. Reduces the damage taken by 10, forces the enemies to focus her for 10 seconds, which is pretty good. Pretty darn good. This is why having her suit is like really important. Having her mech suit is incredibly important because there's another character that has a taunt, but they don't have much outside of that, so they're not that great. So Samara ends up becoming like easily one of the best tanks that you have access to in the game. Once she has her mech. If you don't have her mech, she's not really that great. I'll be perfectly honest. She was good in the beginning, and then like after a while, she like as time progresses, just like wow, she's just not doing enough. She's just not doing enough. I find myself saying that a lot, and I'm swapping to a tank that is of a rare rarity. So Samara's rarity is SSR, and then the other ones are, you know, rares. And they end up being better simply because it's a lot easier to access their mech, and you know, it's just their overall performance. And there's a few of them, I'll mention them in the next, you know, another video. But I'm talking about Esmeralda, and I'm talking about Solveig. Solveig is like so much better because of how easily accessible she is. Just not in acquiring her, but also getting her rarity level up. And it's a lot easier to build her, even though she doesn't have a mech. Same thing with Esmeralda, except she does have a mech. She just doesn't have the damage reduction, but she, you know, she has a heal, which is, you know, pretty nice. But overall, Samara is just not that good if you don't have her mech. If you have her mech, she's pretty insane. One of the best tanks that you can have access to at this present moment. Violet's another character where you see I have her 3 stars. I'm pretty close to having her 4 stars. I've been grinding her. I've been grinding out the bounties that have a chance to release her sequences. So she's another one who's like mech reliant and also rarity reliant. It matters quite a bit. I have her mech already, so this is what the effects would be. And I would say her performance is very good. It's just because of the fact that like a lot of her performance is reliant on, you know, her ultimate and being able to swap between them. You kind of need her at 4 stars to really see her shine, and you need her mech. You know, the 5th rarity, it's also important because it increases her damage, but it's not as important as this energy recharge. It's massive. It's honestly massive. It makes a huge difference. So I would say overall, Violet's pretty good. If you invest into her, you pretty much need to get her to 4 stars to see her really perform, and you also need her mech pieces, which you can farm. I mean, I'll be able to farm it now, I believe. Level 50, and I'll probably show that off in the video. So, yeah. If you have her mech and you have her at least 4 stars, you know, she'll be very good as a main DPS. Otherwise, she's just like a sub DPS at this moment. I should also mention that for Snowy. She can pretty much be a main DPS, honestly, if you have her mech. And, you know, I have her at 5 stars. She can be your main DPS, and you won't have an issue. She does some phenomenal damage. Wren's gonna be the main DPS, provided that you have her mech and rarity. Otherwise, she's sub DPS and not all that great. So a lot of these characters who are relying on their mech. Now, Elizabeth, I've looked at her kit, and I know people say like, "Oh man, she's good." She's not that great, in my opinion. I'll be perfectly honest. She's just not that great. Like the boost that she gives is just not that great. Like increasing damage taken, and that does increase, and it stacks up to 3 times until the battle ends. You kind of need her mech for her to be, you know, pretty good. Once you have her mech, then she's like very good. Without her mech, she's not that great, and she also needs her 5th star rarity. And the reason for that is because of her passive on her ultimate, which otherwise she kind of works in the same way as Wren, but like on the support end of things, where she needs her stacks in order for her to be good. So like 30 seconds and you basically have full stacks until the battle's over, which is huge. The energy cost for her ultimate is pretty egregious at 6,000. That's a lot. But once you get these stacks, she actually becomes incredibly good because of the fact that it's boosting the damage for all the teammates, just straight up damage and the crit chance. So she's like, that makes her incredibly good. That right there makes her incredibly good. But you really do need access to her mech in order for her to like, because otherwise the buffs that she's supposed to be a support, the buffs that she's giving is like selfish. It's not, you know, minus her ultimate, which 6,000, you're only going to see like 1 stack. You're only going to see 1 stack in a battle, if that. And that's if she survives that long, which is the problem, right? Now this one at 4 stars is where, you know, you start to see her, you know, support the team a little bit more in terms of like, you know, boosting their damage. Especially because this increases, and this also gives more crit chance. So, you know, if you have units that are, you know, reliant on whether or not they crit, which there's a number of them actually, like Wren and Snowy actually, for that matter. Yeah, Elizabeth is incredibly good in terms of her being able to facilitate the other team and just overall damage performance. So Elizabeth is incredible if you have her mech. And you also need to invest in her star rarity. Otherwise, she's not that great. Which, this is a running thing. In the best scenario, she would, you know, with her mech and, you know, with the star investment, which you'll get, you know, over time. But she really comes on when she has her 5th star rarity and her mech. After that, Elizabeth is like amazing. She definitely gets a stamp of approval. You just need her mech in, you know, 5 stars, which is not easily attainable. So for a lot of people, unless you're whaling, like, it's just not gonna happen, especially as a free-to-play. You just pretty much stay away from Elizabeth, which is unfortunate. Unless you have her at 5 stars, and, you know, you'll eventually be able to get the mech just from, you know, playing the game. But as it stands right now, she's just, you know, not all that great, which is unfortunate. But with the mech, she's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Flavia just so happens to be the next one who is crit reliant. So you would want to pair, and this is kind of something that will go into like team comps, which I'll make a separate video for. But Flavia is someone who, she's incredible. She is absolutely insane. She's literally like, if we're talking about like what character you should go for, if you're free to play, this doesn't really apply to you, because I'm not sure how you get her mech pieces outside of like the battle pass at this stage. But if you are willing to invest $20 into the game for the battle pass, Flavia is literally the easiest character to get online for you. That's not in that original 6. Flavia is absolutely nuts with her mech. Even without it, she's pretty darn good. But as you can see here, she, like, her entire kit revolves around her critting. And as long as she's critting, she's like easily like one of the best units that you have available to you right now. She's an insane character, absolutely insane. And the reason for this is like if there is an enemy, that can be immobilized, which I'm not sure about, you know, the bosses, but the fact that she's doing a decent amount of damage, it's not really the damage in her ultimate, though she does it multiple times. It's really good, but it's really just the fact that she immobilizes them for 5 seconds is a long time. If you play Conflict Zone and you manage to get to normal and you face Domgo with her stun for 3 seconds, it's a long time. It is an incredibly long time. That's a long time in combat. That is the difference between, you know, a little bit of damage, a lot of bit of damage, or life and death in some situations. But without the mech, 80% crit chance. With the mech is 100%, and the damage for her ultimate increases because the other ones don't really, you know, matter. The only thing that would have mattered with this is like the duration, but 15 seconds is, you know, a pretty long time. Now, the crits from her standard attacks give her a 20% chance of boosting her damage by 12%, and that increases, the chance does, which is, you know, pretty good. Stacks up to 3 times too. With her mech, it increases up to 5 times. So you're looking at 60 damage, 60% damage, excuse me. And if this is increasing by 5 every time, it should be like around, I think, 40% or something like that. Yeah, 40%. Should be around like 40%. So 40% chance from crits, which is pretty high. You're gonna see this stack up really fast. You can already tell just from these two alone, the damage is mounting up by quite a bit. And then she just gets a straight up damage boost and an energy recharge boost. And both of those increase. Both of those increase. Now, Here's why the suit for Flavia also, again, is a running thing. The suit matters. For Flavia, with the suit, this goes up from 8% to 35%. This is also important to note, though. It boosts her damage by just straight up, just like, it carries the same effect without the mech. But with the mech, she's going to get 35% of her energy every 5 seconds when she attacks. So she comes, I don't really understand if people like don't think Flavia's insane. She's absolutely nuts, by the way. Her kit is so well designed. She's a really dope character and her design is incredible. And if you've seen her skin, oh my lord, she is just amazing. And then here you go to top it all off. When she falls below a certain HP threshold, which is 30%, her crit damage is going to increase by 20. But when you have her mech, and you know, you should only be using her with her mech, her crit damage is going to increase for every 1% of her missing health. So the lower her HP gets, the more insane she gets. And the reason that Nova is coveted is because of that same fact. The lower her HP gets, the higher her damage increases with every 1% of missing health. So Nova's absolutely insane. And Flavia is no different because of the, you know, a similar effect. The only difference being is that it's crit damage instead of just overall damage. If it was just overall damage, I'm sure Flavia would just be like one of the best units in the game, same as Nova. But it's mainly because of the fact that Flavia is crit reliant, which, you know, might not have people thinking of her as like the go-to unit. But as long as you have her mech and as long as you have her at 5 stars, I can honestly just confidently say she's on par she's legitimately on par with characters like a Wren, like a Tasia, you know, before Tasia's UR. She's in that, she's close enough to that range of caliber and like how great she is. Flavia's absolutely nuts, but you need her mech. Only if you have her mech. Then otherwise she's still pretty good, but she's just kinda not that great. So it's kind of like the same ballpark of like Wren, except it's a hell of a lot easier to get Flavia and her mech than it is to get Wren, in terms of like you have to spend $20 and then here you go, you just have Flavia and her mech. Versus Wren, you have to basically get blessed by the RNG gods in order to, you know, get enough for, you know, the pieces of her mech. Otherwise, and, you know, to, you know, pull her to get the sequences and whatnot. Otherwise, you're going to be using your sequence coins. And I would say you pretty much only want to be using your sequence coins on limited characters, or characters that are going to stand the test of time. I actually used a few sequence coins on Snowy because I basically had her 4 stars already, and I just needed, you know, 5 of them to get her to 5 stars. So I made that investment. Alexa is another one of those characters where she's absolutely insane with her mech. Like literally one of the the best characters in the game. So if you got Alexa, you only need to like basically get her mech, and then she just becomes like disgusting. So she summoned these bots that, you know, they find a target and then they explode and then it spread damage, and it basically immobilizes them for 3 seconds. Now when you get her mech, it's going to not only slow the target for 30% for a second. After 6 attacks, they'll, you know, they'll make the, you know, the targets immobilized for 3 seconds. And then they inherit 30% of her attack, 100% of her crit chance, crit damage, and accuracy. So, you know, here they're, you know, chasing targets and whatnot, then they explode. Here with her mech, they're gonna, you know, do some damage for a short amount of time, and as they're attacking, they're gonna reduce the, you know, the speed. But after a while, once they take you know, a certain amount of damage, then they'll explode. Which is, you know, pretty insane. And then let's see here, she, you know, gets an attack boost. Her attack's increased. So that's pretty good. And then here she gets another, she gets an attack speed increase, which is pretty insane. And then her attacks, this is interesting. When Alexa's standard attacks evolve into critical hits, there's a 35% chance to put targets in the injured state, increasing their damage taken by 10% for 12 seconds. This triggers once every 30 seconds. Interesting. That's pretty darn good. She's really good. Man, she is doing so much. Alexa's like one of the best units when she gets her once she gets her mech. Even before that, she's really good actually. Just looking at her overall kit, she's actually very good. And I'll probably invest in her at some point. You just have to be careful about what units you invest into, and it's hard to do that because you get characters later on, and then you have to, invest into them. But pretty much, yeah. Alexa basically is Zuko with a gender bend. Yeah, good lord. She increases her crit chance by 10. But when she gets her mech, every 3% of her health lost, her damage dealt increases by 0.5. When it drops below 50%, however, this boosts crit damage by 10%. So this is consistent through here. I'm not sure if this, like, when you drop below the 50% threshold, does this crit damage increase with every 3% of her health loss? I think it does, which is why she's like so insane. So yeah, Alexa is another one of those. Alexa isn't just changing songs for you, she's absolutely curb stomping in Final Gear. So she's pretty nuts, actually. Flavia is an interesting unit in the sense of, like, she does bleed, right? She inflicts bleed, and enemies with bleed, that bleed increases. No, it does not. See, and it's only the damage, so it's a set amount, which is a problem. If this increased, then I would say, like, yeah, Flavia is like pretty good, but her kit's based on this. So it's kind of interesting. I'd have to see her perform in battle to kind of see how, good or not so good this is. But just based off of what I've seen from her kit, because I already looked at her kit prior to this, it's not that good. Here she gets a crit chance increase and a 10% chance of refreshing the enemy bleed debuff, which is pretty good. But the way Flavia's kit is set up, if the bleed is impactful, then she's like really insane in terms of like the damage that she can put out. But it's reliant on that, and I don't think the bleed is like too good, and they might have been worried about it getting out of hand because this character, if bleed ever becomes like super prevalent, which will probably be dependent on team comps, which you can increase the potency of bleed, because she's kind of already doing that. She's definitely a must run in the bleed comps. There's a few characters that are they have some type of bleed effect, so she definitely fits in there. And so long as you have them together, I'm sure she performs incredibly well. But the fact that you have a chance of refreshing that as well is like it goes from bleed to wounded, and I believe wounded is I think it's the greater effect. So that's pretty good. And then she increases her damage against enemies who are inflicted with bleed, and she's pretty much going to have that debuff up all the time. And I don't believe there to be any enemies who have a bleed debuff immunity, as far as I know, currently. So it grants Executioner whenever an enemy is inflicted with wounded, which it must be an evolved version of bleed. This here, wounded is the better version, so she might actually end up becoming pretty good. I'll have to find out once I have her at 5 stars and can get a proper assessment. But this stacks up to 3 times. It boosts her damage by 10%, 10 seconds, and it stacks. And you can refresh that like a number of times. This is pretty much like 100% uptime. That's pretty insane. This is at level 1, by the way. She might actually be like really insane. Here she does 25% more damage to enemies with shields, and that will go up a level. But once you get the suit, once you get her suit, it just straight up ignores it. So she'll still, I'm sure she'll still be doing this, but she just ignores it herself. So it's mainly for, you know, the rest of your team who can't do that. But yeah, Flavia seems pretty darn good on paper. I'm not sure how she performs. So I cannot say that I could recommend Flavia without her suit and star investment. Otherwise, she's just not worth investing into. And then even with that, I would still have to see her in battle to see like how good she actually is, even with her suit. So this is like, that's a character I'm not entirely sure on. Here we have Nia. Nia pretty much is like really good with her suit. It's kind of the same thing. The only issue is she, like, it's basically a line of sight, and I'm not sure how big this I'm not sure how big the radius is, but she gets a damage boost and she gets accuracy boosts, and here the damage increased like significantly. Like significantly. It's pretty much double. And it also boosts her damage by 5%, and her crit damage by 20% for 10 seconds. But the energy cost is like pretty darn high, so that's something to look out for. Here she just gets a flat attack boost, but with her suit she deals an additional 15% pierce. She is a sniper, by the way, so that's something to keep in mind. Standard attacks also have a 10% chance of stunning enemies for 3 seconds. So Nia is really good. She also boosts her crit chance for every 1% of missing health. It's by 0.5, but with the suit, it increases by 0.1% for every 1, and that goes up 1 level. So that's okay. It kind of like her first 2 abilities pretty much are the ones you want to prioritize, and then here this doesn't matter that much. And this is just straight up damage boost, and this is straight up crit damage boost. I know I haven't been talking about like which ones to prioritize after I did Snowy's, I believe. So let me just run through that real quick. This increases her attack rate, so I'd say the ultimate is probably almost always going to be the ultimate first, and then this is pretty interesting because the chance to increase the kill with kindness goes up. So it's like they both go up, so I would say both of these are a priority, and this is like the last one, which is, you know, kind of insane. They're all really good, but I would say the ultimate, then brilliance or kill with kindness, then solitude for Bernadette. Energy shield, I would probably say you should go for that skill second, you know, following deflection sphere, which you would increase first. These two, it's kind of, you know, you just pick whichever one you want to. Whichever one, you know, you feel like matters more. I'd probably say the damage reduction because of the, you know, the focusing that it also gives. So deflection, then energy, then suppression, then unbreakable, most likely. Energy, affliction, then selflessness because of that. Beyond all limits, and then self-improvement, simply because of like how these are set up. She's not really reliant on critting, but she is reliant on the energy. So it's almost, honestly, I would probably prioritize selflessness first, if you already have her there, but if not, then you know you go for the ultimate first, then selflessness, beyond all limits, self improvement. Elizabeth, the her Sonata first, Flair Sonata, because they both have Sonata in their name. They all have Sonata in their names, so Flair, likely, yeah, Flair, slicing, resounding, then Elysian, most likely, is how I would prioritize her. For Flavia, though, boy, probably variant. Probably variant first. Then, actually, I, it's between variant and perfect operation, then your ultimate, and then dauntless. Alexa, sheesh. This one is pretty huge. This one's also pretty huge. I would probably say no great shakes. Then it's between no hard feelings and better you than me. And then the boss is spoken is just going to be like the last one, no matter what. You pretty much decide which one of these two that you want to increase first. I think no great shakes is probably the first one always. How's it going, Sakijin? Welcome, welcome. Flavia, it's interesting. Flavia, it's likely your ultimate first. It's likely your ultimate first. Dark Burst first, and then I say Shadow Stalker, then Stare from the Abyss, and Root. So 1, 2, 3, 4 probably. Nia, pretty much. Honestly, it's pretty much the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we get the Dango. Dango's actually pretty good. Dango is actually pretty good. Hey, Frost, how's it going? We just got the level 60 AFK in the Evelyn story event mission. Nice. I left it on for a bit, and I could see, like, I saw the experience gain. It's pretty nuts. I'm level 50. So fast to get to 60. Yeah, so basically, there is an infinite spawn. There's an infinite spawn in Evelyn's level 50 story. And you can just, you know, after you beat it, you do need to have a certain, you know, you can't just do that infinitely if your team's not strong enough for that. My team is strong enough, so you can basically just have that on for a while, and then essentially, you know, level up that way. Like, so it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. I have other have other things that I was doing, so I didn't leave it on. I didn't leave it on all night. I left it on until I was going to sleep. Oh, you did times 10, let it run for 8 hours. Ah, I see. So you refreshed it. I only did it at times 2, and I basically got like a level. And I had it on for like a few hours, so yeah, that's basically how you should be doing it, which I think that's definitely a worthy investment. So I'll probably do that tonight when I, you know, go to sleep, take care of everything. But yeah, that's something to look into for sure. Once you get to a certain point in the game. Yeah, don't worry about it for now, Sakijin. Hopefully I'm saying your name properly and not butchering it. It's either Sakijin or Sakijin. I think it's Sakijin, because if it was Kai, there would be an A there. Or I could just be completely wrong. I have no idea. This is all speculation. Plus 8 tries, 380 crystals. Oh, that's well worth the investment. What? You know, you make those crystals back like nothing. You make those crystals back like it's nobody's business. That's definitely worth. But Dango, she's, you know, pretty darn good. She becomes even better once you because like before she gets her, you know, before her suit, she gives the teammates crit chance after, you know, hitting the enemy with a, you know, strike multiple times. And then once she gets the suit, instead of boosting crit, she gives them crit damage. So that's pretty nice. She boosts crit chance by 10 with her suit. Critical hits have a 30% chance of recharging 200 energy, and it activates once every 8 seconds. So hers is like Flavia's, and this is the difference between them. This might actually be the first priority, just because of the fact that you can pretty much spam her ultimates, because this will go down like 1 second every time, right? So it goes down to 4 seconds. That's a lot. You have to activate it though, so that's a thing. So Dango's pretty good as well. Her critical hits boost her damage by 5% for 10 seconds. So you want to pretty much have her in a comp with Elizabeth with her mech and Snowy. So, pretty good. With the suit, she gets a damage boost. The damage boost increases to 10%, and critical hits have a 10% chance of gaining a stack of focus for 5, and dealing 20% damage to enemies within 25 yards when focus expires, and it stacks up 3 times. So, you know, she basically has a timer, and then once that timer is done, you just get like this damage boost. And then here she just gets a straight up crit damage boost, and with her suit it doubles the damage of standard attacks against enemies below 50% HP. So Dango's like pretty darn good if you have her mech and rarity 5. She's pretty darn good. So yeah, that pretty much concludes. Yeah, that's pretty much all the SSRs at this stage that I have, but that's not all of them. And you'll see the one that I'm missing. The one that I am missing, we can check here in Aya, which we will do in a second. But there's also these here. Murasaki, I have seen her kit. She is a really good tank. She's one of the only tanks that has I think she's the only tank actually that has reflect, so she's nuts. Here you can get Flavia from here. Nova, she's pretty much like self-exclamatory. She's insane. You just need her mech. And then Cynthia, she's also mech reliant, but she also seems to be really good. Those are only ones that I don't have, that I haven't went over as far as like SSRs are concerned. Here's Aya. So here's what she does. She deals, you know, 430% damage to enemies in front of her, or boosting her damage by 10%. She gets an attack boost with 25. Normal attacks that hit enemies have a 30% chance of boosting her crit chance by 50% for 15 seconds, and you can refresh that. And then her critical hits boost her energy recharge speed by 50% for 20 seconds. So she's not going to have any difficulty getting her ultimate up, and that's good because the cost is egregious at 6,600. That is probably one of the highest in the game, if not the highest currently. It's pretty disgusting. But even though I don't have her, her damage just isn't that great. She really doesn't have damage anywhere, really. It's like a small amount here. She gets a flat 25. and that's all she gets. She's not getting any crit damage increase, so you're gonna have to basically, what you're gonna have to do for her to like do decent damage is make sure that you're getting crit damage. Make sure that you're getting attack buffs, straight up damage boost, and crit damage especially. Otherwise, she's not going to hit that hard at all. So she's like, she's the easiest to get online, but it's for a good reason. It's because she's just not that great. You pretty much have to get some, you know, what you're gonna have to do, and this is what I'll finish this video with. What you're gonna have to do is go to her event, which is, you know, available right now, and you're going to have to, once you do the 20 pulls, you're gonna have to come here to her level 60 and do this, and you're gonna have to get some pretty good rolls. You don't need to get her unless, like, if you've been pulling on her banner, then I would say, you know, you just go to the limited time shop and then just get her gear from here. And I would highly recommend that you go for her weapon first and then her mount second, and then you just worry about the frames later. But these two are the most important. If you rolled on her banner, I would highly advise against rolling on her banner just because she's just not that great. In all honesty, there's just units that, you know, that I've went over that you have easier access to, like Flavia for one. She's just like leaps and bounds better. Down goes leaps and bounds better. Just in that striker category, like Wren is easily just the best option that you like have right now. The only reason Nova isn't considered there is because she doesn't have her mech right this moment available to us on global, but when she does, she's basically, you know, that best slot. But then there's also Tasia who's coming out, so she ends up being the best slot. Once, you know, she's definitely top 3 for striker, but especially once she gets her evolution into ultra rare, she definitely becomes like one of the best, if not the best. But this video's literally been like an hour. So thank you all for watching this video, and hopefully this helps you out in figuring out for, you know, just overall and for your account which SSR is, you know, the pick for you. And just take what I've said and apply it to your account, not just, you know, what you should be going for. Because you do, you know, if you're free to play, you basically just have to go off of what's available to you. And as you can see here in this showcase, she's just not, like, yeah, she has a pretty decent AoE, but the damage just isn't that great. And the only reason I mention this is, check this out. Look at that damage. Look at that damage. That's supposed to be like what their best case scenario is, right? In this little clip. And I highly doubt that they have Wren in her best situation and not I in her best situation, because if so, that's incredibly misleading. But you can just tell from their kits. Look at that, 100k each time. It's insane, right? Look at that, 10k on a hit. That wasn't a crit. It's nuts. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, there you have it, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like if you liked it, and if not, that's okay. But it definitely helps with the you know, the YouTube algorithms and all that, and allows for more people to see the video. That's the only reason I'm even mentioning this. It's not, you know, to help the channel grow. Like, that's kind of secondary for me. It's mainly just getting the information out to you guys so you can make your own judgment calls for your accounts. That's what matters the most to me. So in that regard, if you could help me out and, you know, get this video out to more people, that would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.